Hello guys, welcome back to the new video. So in this video we are going to design our full image screen. So first of all let's see how we can get a single image. So this is the endpoint we need to use and we also need to provide the ID of that photo. So let's go to this data and remote and here we have this Unsplash API service. First let's copy this function. So this is the path ID. So here we have this path annotation and in the return we will get a single image, not a list of images. Now let's go to our domain package and in our image repository let's create new function. In this repository interface we use the model we created in our domain package which we are going to use in the presentation layer. And now let's go to our repository implementation and implement this function. Here press Ctrl I and implement this. Now again this is giving error because of that Unsplash API services is giving us this object but we are using this object in our presentation layer. So again we are going to use that mapper function to domain model. Now we can close all these files and go to our presentation package and here we have full image screen and let's create new file full image view model. As always we have annotated our view model with the hilt view model and we are using this inject annotation with constructor keyword creating our repository and we have extend our view model with this base view model. First let's create a state here. This will be of type nullable unsplash image and the default will be null value. And we are using this private set keyword. So we can only read outside that full image view model and here we can also write. So let's create a function. So here we are using this try catch block and in this catch block for now I have just used this print stack trace function but in the future video when we will implement the snack bar functionality then we will also show the snack bar on this exception. So here we need to provide this image ID. Now let's go to our navigation file in the nav graph. So here from home screen when we will click on this image then we are going to pass the image ID to our full image screen and in this full image screen we are getting this image ID and we are passing that image ID into our screen. But now what we need this image ID not in the screen but in the view model. So how we are going to get that? It's also quite simple. So here we have this saved state handle. So here we can see this is coming from this Android library. This save state handle keeps the nav arguments also. So here we can say private val image ID and we can use this save state handle and again we have this to route function as we used here like this. Now we can copy this part and use it here. Now we can pass this image ID here and we are going to use this function in the init block because there is no button to call this function. So whenever our view model will be created, so this function will be called automatically. Now this image we are going to provide in our screen. So here in the nav graph, now we can delete this part, and here first let's create our view model. Let's press Ctrl B. So here we will pass the Unsplash image, not this ID, and this will be of type nullable. And let's remove this image ID part. So now we can provide our image here. So now we have our image in our screen. So how we are going to show this image? So in this box layout we are going to use image composable. So first let's remove this text composable, and here let's use this image. So here let's use image loader. Here we have this function, remember async image painter. So let's provide the model. So here we are going to use image URL of that raw image. We are going to get this raw image. So let's provide this image loader here, and content description let's just provide null. Now let's run our app and see. Now let's click on this image. So here we have our image. Now press back button, and this time this image. So now we have this image. Now next we are going to provide two functionality that we can see when we click on any of this new image. So it takes time to load the image, and in that meanwhile it just show the blank white screen. But in this time we can show loading bar. So user should know that something is going on in the app. So let's minimize this and this also. First thing, let's create two more states here. Next, with the name of is error. So here initially this will be false, but our is loading will be true. So here after this model we have this on state. So here we will get the state of loading and error. So here we will map those state with these two values. In the similar way we have this is error state. So now we can use if block. If is loading is true, then we can simply use a circular progress indicator. So this circular progress indicator comes with the material3 library. And in the error case, first let's get a drawable from this vector assets. And let's use the size of 50 by 50 and finish. So here we have this. So now here we can use if block. If is error is false, then we are going to use image loader. Else this painter resource. Now let's run our app again. So again let's click on this. So now we can see image has been loaded. Next thing, let's just close our internet and click on this image. So here we have our error state. So both these things is working quite fine. Now next thing, here we have this circular progress indicator, but we are going to use our custom progress indicator. So we are going to design that next. Let's minimize this and go to our component package. In the presentation package, create a new file with the name image vista loading bar. So here we are going to use this box, and let's use our modifier. First let's use this scale modifier, and next for modifier, and next this border. So let's provide the border first. Width we are going to use 5 dp. Color whatever will be on background, and shape will be circle shape. So we are going to animate these two values. So for that, here first let's create infinite transition, and we need to provide the label. So here we can say image vista loading bar. So this progress value we are going to animate. So here on this animation we have this function called animate float. So we are going to animate this float value. Initially we will keep the 0 value and target will be 1. So it will animate from 0 to 1. And animation spec, let's use this infinite repeatable with animation of tween. And we need to provide the repeat mode. So repeat mode we have this restart and reverse. So let's just restart. So it will go from 0 to 1 and then again from 0 to 1. So let's use this progress value in our scale, and this alpha value we will calculate like 1f minus progress. Whatever will be the progress, then we will minus that value from the 1f. So that will be our alpha value. So when our progress will be 100%, it means 1. So alpha will be 0. Now let's use this in our screen. Instead of this circular progress indicator, we are going to use our custom loading bar. One more thing let's also provide is the size. So for now let's use just the size we are going to provide through the parameter. Now let's run our app again. Let's click on this, and here we have our beautiful loading bar. Next thing, we are going to provide that image zooming functionality. So for that, first let's minimize this and this one also. So first thing, here we will create a new state. Here we have this function remember transformable state. And with this remember transformable state, we get three values: zoom change, pan change, and this rotation change. So here let's get those values. And third value we are not going to use, so let's leave that blank. And we are going to use this remember transformable state in our image. So here let's use the modifier transformable, and here let's provide our transform state. And next thing, let's create two more value for keeping the scale value and this offset value. So here we have these two states. First one is scale. So here we are keeping the default 1f value. 1f means whatever will be this initial size of that image. And next thing we have this offset. So offset will initially will be 0. Now let's first update these two values. So here we are updating our scale value to the maximum of this 1f or this scale into zoom change. So it means this scale value should not go below this 1f, means the initial size of that image. So here we need to use the where. And now let's update our offset values. So here whatever will be the offset change, we will add to our x-axis offset, and in the same way to our y-axis offset value. So let's use these two values to our image. Here we have this graphic layer. We can update all these values. So now let's run our app again and see this change. Let's open this image, and now when we zoom, so here we can see our zooming image is working fine. And it is also not zooming out in excess of that original size. Now next functionality we are going to give is this. If we drag the image either right or the left, then it is going outside the screen. So this should not happen. So for this, let's go here. So here we need to calculate two values, maximum y coordinate and then maximum x coordinates. So to calculate this maximum y coordinates, we need the max height of the available screen. So for that thing, we are going to use the box width constraint. Let's put these things inside that box width constraint. So here we are going to use this constraint and we can get the max height. First let's calculate the max x coordinates. So here we will take the width size and then we will multiply it to the scale -1, and then we are going to divide whole value to this 2. Now let me explain how this value is calculating. For that, let's take simple numbers. Suppose we have the screen width of 500 dp. The user has scaled the image to the 2.5. So it means the screen scale is initially it was 1f, and now the user has scaled to 2.5. It means that user has scaled the image to the extra 1.5. So this extra 1.5 we are multiply to this width. So it will give us the number to 750. So this 750 we are going to divide it to 2. Then when we divide this value to the 2, then we will get the 375. So now we are defining that user can go maximum to the 375 to the right side and 375 to the left side. Here use the 𝗏𝗏𝘆𝗀 function on these x coordinates. Minimum it can go to the -x coordinates and maximum it can go to the maximum x coordinates we calculated. In the same way, let's calculate the y coordinates. This time we are going to get the maximum height, and same thing we are going to use here. So now let's run our app again. Again, let's open this image. So let's zoom in. When we drag to the left, it is not going outside the screen. There is no white space. But vertically there can be some white space because this image ratio is not equal to the phone's screen ratio. But we have calculated this value that it should not go somewhere below this and like this. So this is how we can zoom our image. Now next functionality we will provide that whenever we open the new image and user double tap on this image, so it should zoom in automatically. So for that, here in this image we have this modifier called combined clickable. Now it is giving error, so let's obtain this experimental annotation. So here in this on double tap, first thing we need to keep the state of that is the image zoomed or not. So here we are calculating this is image zoomed state with the help of this scale state. That's why we are using this derived state of, because this state is driving the state from another state. So here we are saying if the scale value is not equal to 1, it means it is zoomed. So here we will use this value with the if block. So if the image is already zoomed, then we are going to change this scale state to 1 and this offset to 0. And in the else block, let's use this transform state dot animate zoom by. We have this function. So here we can provide this zoom factor to 3f because we need whenever user double tap on the image, though, so it should zoom to the 3 scale value. So here this function we need to use in the coroutine scope. So let's just create a scope here. Let's run it again. This time let's open this image. So let's double tap on this image and here we have this image zoomed to the 3f. But we can see there is some clickable effect. So we need to remove this clickable effect. We need to provide these two values to these two parameters for removing that clickable effect. One more thing is that now that loading bar is not showing in the center. So here we need to use the fill max size modifier. Now let's run it again. And open this image again. Again this has been placed in the top, so we need to use this content alignment also. Double tap on this image, so now we can see there is no clickable effect. Next thing, let's provide that top bar to this screen. So for that, let's minimize this and close this file. And in the component package, let's go to our image Vista app bar And here after this, let's create a new composable function with the name full image view top bar. Here we are going to use the row layout. First thing, let's go back to our screen, and here we have this back icon. So let's cut from here and use in our row. So this on back click we are going to provide from this parenthesis. So here we are using this row layout, and first we are using this back button, and then we are using this async image for this profile image, and then we are giving some space with the spacer, and then we are using this column layout to keep the photographer's name and the photographer user's name, and then we are using this spacer with the weight 1f. So this spacer will take the maximum space between these two elements. So it will push this icon button to the most right. And here let's provide the download icon. So again let's take the icon from this. Here we need to use this painter resource. Now let's use our top app bar in our screen. So here first we have this box. In this box we have this box with constraints. So let's minimize this, and after this let's use our full image view top app bar and let's provide these. Next let's modify this on photographer's image click. Here we will also pass the profile link. So let's use this string. Here we need to use this let. So if the image is not null, then we are going to use this on photographer's click. And here we need to pass the profile link. Let's copy this parameter and use in our screen also. And here let's just attach, and this on download click, let's leave it blank. And we need to align this top app bar to the top center. And this image screen we are using in that nav graph. So for now let's just pass that on photographer's image click to blank parenthesis and run our app again. Let's click on the image. So here we have our top app bar, but it is overlapping to that status bar. We need to fix this thing. Mhm. Let's give some padding and also clip that photographer's image into circle shape. First let's go to this full image screen and here use the padding modifier. Next let's go to this image Vista app bar and here let's use the clip modifier. Now let's run our app again. Let's click on this image and here we have our top app bar with a circular photographer's profile pic. Next thing we will give this functionality that initially when user comes into this full image screen then this top app bar and status bar should not be visible. Only the image should be visible. But when user tap on the image or anywhere on the screen, so this top app bar and status bar should be visible. So for this thing, first let's minimize this and go to this presentation package and here let's create one more package with the name util. Here let's create a new file with the name window insets controller extension. So here first let's create an extension function window insets controller compat and name our function toggle status bars. We will provide this boolean value to this function. Here let's use this if else block. Here we have this show function. So we can show this status bar when we provide this true value and in the else block we will use this hide function. Now let's also create one more function. With this function we are using this remember blocks to remember this window insets controller compat. So we can use this toggle status bar function. Now let's go back to our full image screen and first thing we need to create a value for this window insets controller. And one more thing, let's also create a state with the name show bars. So initially this value will be false. First thing we need to make sure that whenever this full image screen composable function compose then this false value should be passed to that toggle is system bars function. So for that here we have this launched effect block. The key we are going to use this unit. It means this launch effect block will be trigger only the first time. Here we are using the key unit. It means it will not change the value after the initial trigger. So here we can use this window insets controller dot toggle system bars and let's provide this show value to this show bars value. And next how we are going to update this show bars value. First thing let's use this where and let's copy this function and scroll down. So in this image whenever we will single click on this image then we are going to update this value to the inverse value and that value we are going to pass to this toggle status bars function. Now we can run our app again. Again let's open our image and that system bar is not visible in the initially. But this top app bar is still visible because this is because we have not used the animated visibility for this top app bar. Let's click on this image and here we can see this system bars are hiding and unhiding. Now the system bars is not visible. Now let's press back button. So here we can see this screen system bars also not visible. We also need to correct this behavior. Whenever we go back to the previous screen, then this show bars value should be true. So for that, here let's scroll up, and after this launch effect block, we have this back handler. So with this back handler, we can handle our back button, and let's provide this enabled value to this negative show bars. It means this back handler will be only trigger whenever this show bars value is false. So here we need to pass the true value. And one more thing, let's also use the on back click modifier. So this also needs to be trigger. Next thing, let's use animated visibility in our top app bar. So here we are using the row layout. So let's minimize this and keep this row layout in the animated visibility. And this is visible value we are going to pass through the parameters. We are going to use these two animations for enter and exit. And let's put this row layout inside this animated visibility. Now let's go back to our full image screen, and that is visible value we are going to use that show bars state. Now again let's run our app. Again let's click on this image, and here we can see whenever we comes into this screen, then that top bar and system bars are not visible, only our image is visible. Now tap on this image. So here we can see our system bars and top app bar is visible, but now top app bars are not in the top. So let me see what's the issue. So here is the issue, that here we are using this align modifier to the top center. First let's minimize this, and here we can see this box layout is the parent layout of these two. So what we can do, we can remove this content alignment from here, because we are already providing the alignment modifier to this top app bar. Now let's run our app again. Let's click on this image. So here we have our image, and we can see they are animating from the top. And let's again tap. We can see it is working perfectly fine, like this. Now let's press back button. So we can see now in the previous screen our system bars are visible. So everything is working perfectly fine. So this was all for this video. In the next video we are going to design our profile screen, and we are going to provide the image downloading functionality to our app. If you found these videos helpful, like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.